Hey, this is Mad Movie Mark or the Mad Movie Mark Movie Review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 1967 Japanese assassination movie Branded to Kill.
あれはなんだあれはなんだ俺はもう嫌だぜこんなことにつきはなもう真っ平だ
Hey, well, I felt the same way when I was watching this movie. I'll tell you that right now. I'm reviewing every movie that has 100% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm giving them all a score of 1 to 10. After I've watched them and scored them all, I will rank them from worst to best. I started the 1920 silent movie era, and now I'm at 1967 with Branded to Kill. And for this foreseeable future, I will be talking as lowly as I can while talking as loudly as I can because I have a newborn baby asleep with her mother in the next room, and I do not want to wake them up. So this movie has a 100% fresh rating from the critics and an 84% fresh rating from the audience. It was directed by Seijuan Suzuki and stars Joe Shishido as Hanada and Anna Mari as Mizako. So this movie is incredibly weird. I'll say that right now. The premise of this movie is we have Hanada, who is the number 3 ranked assassin, I think in Japan. I don't think it's in the world. I believe it's just in Japan where he is currently living. And he is asked to do a job in the very beginning of the movie where he's asked to, I believe it's to assassinate someone.
手を貸してくれるか。ドジを踏んで放り出された。俺はもう一度手柄を出してあそこへ帰りたいんだ。ちょっとした仕事を小耳に挟んだんだ。奴ら俺一人じゃ信用しないんだ。
It might be a few people actually. At some point in this movie, he takes out like the number 4 and the number 5 ranked assassins, and I think it's pretty early on in the movie he does this. So he kills them, and then he goes home to his wife, who is habitually naked throughout the entire movie. For some reason, she's just never wearing any clothing. She puts on a bowl of rice, like she boils some rice for him, and he just loves rice. Like this is his thing in the entire movie. He just can't get enough rice.
嫌な癖ゾッとするわ飯の炊ける匂いが何よりも好きだって言うんですから
Throughout the entire movie. So he ends up meeting this mysterious woman who gives him another job. That's a job that's basically impossible to successfully do, but he decides to take the job anyway. He essentially has to assassinate someone, and he has to do it in like the window of a couple seconds.
思ってた通りの奥さんだわ。
何の用があるんだ
殺してもらいたい外人がいるの。場所は借りておいたわ。そこから撃つの。その人は女の左の腕を取る癖があるの。あなたのとこから私たちの歩くのが見えるのはたった3秒。
So when it comes time to do this job, he ends up missing and hitting an innocent bystander. After this, he is told that he is no longer ranked among assassins and that the number 1 assassin in the world, who is a mysterious gentleman that no one knows who he is. In fact, people just believe he is a myth, that he doesn't actually exist.
それとも幻のナンバーワン。
噂だけの殺し屋だ
そう、噂だけのね。誰も顔を見たやつはいない。だけどそいつはいるんだ。
That the number 1 assassin is going to come and murder him. So he essentially spirals and becomes this person who is very concerned about dying and concerned about being killed by the number 1 assassin. Now, the number 1 assassin reaches out to him, and he pretty much says, "Hey, I'm going to kill you." And the later part of the movie is just this guy kind of coming to terms with death, but he's like afraid and he's terrified. Eventually he decides that he says, "Hey, why can't I be the number 1 assassin? Why can't I kill him instead of him killing me?" Which is what I was thinking the whole time. I was thinking, if this guy's like the number 3 assassin, why can't he just try to kill number 1? But it took like an hour for them to get to that point.
俺がナンバーワンになったって悪くないわけだ俺がナンバーワンになった
so he decides he's going to try to kill the number one assassin. At the end of the movie, it's very bizarre. He ends up killing the number one assassin, but it's very agnostic as to whether he dies or not. It's kind of like, did Shane die at the end of Shane? We just don't know. He gets shot a bunch of times, and he like celebrates that he is now the number one assassin, and then he falls out of this like boxing ring that he's in, and that's the entire movie. I didn't like this movie very much at all. I did not like the excessive nudity in this movie. It's kind of like Woman in the Dunes, where there's nudity, but it's not really warranted. It's like for no reason, and that was also a movie out of Japan, and I think it was the last movie I did in Japan, so maybe this is just like a time in Japan when nudity's a thing. I don't know. It just seemed really out of place. His wife is just someone who is kind of like a empty-headed woman who is just there because he's like she thinks that he's just as crazy as she is, and she thinks that they should be together. I did do some outside research for this movie, which I don't normally do, just because I want to see what the obsession is with this guy in rice. So apparently the director of this movie, he said, well, if you're going to make an Italian movie, the lead actor is probably going to be hooked on pizza. So my movie, the Japanese guy, is hooked on rice. Whatever. The cinematography in this movie is actually really good. There's a lot of really like long shot scenes. There's scenes inside motor vehicles that are just beautiful. There's a scene later, I guess earlier in the movie, where this building blows up because the main guy, Hanada, throws a gas can into the building and shoots it and lights it on fire. Which is spectacular. The cinematography is great. The camera work is amazing. The script is just boring and lazy and dumb. I felt like it's cool that all the different assassins are ranked, but that system never, it doesn't matter besides the fact that everyone wants to be number one, and at the end he's fighting the number one ranked assassin. It didn't work for me. It was really weird. The mysterious woman who he meets later in the movie, he ends up having a thing for. He ends up falling for her, and he tells her like throughout the entire movie that he's going to like have sex with her, and then I think he ends up doing it. It's kind of it's a gray area, but you think that she's going to be like this. Like this strong woman who's gonna play opposite him, and she's gonna like give him a lot of kickback, and she's gonna be his equal, and there's gonna be this this great back and forth play between them, but that never ends up happening. She just kind of once they try to pull off this murder and it doesn't happen, she kind of realizes that she's gonna be murdered, and she kind of just gives in to her fate, and she doesn't care what happens to her. The weird thing is when he misses, it's because like a butterfly flies in front of his gun, and then her room is full of butterflies, like where she's staying, and I never got the tie-in between that. Maybe I missed something, like she was trying to make him miss, but that wouldn't make any sense because then they went after her too, like they were trying to kill her too at the end. I didn't understand the reference there and why that was even part of the movie. But yeah, she's not a very strong female character, and at the end of the movie they make it seem like she's dead, but then they bring her out at the end and she's not dead, and it's almost comical. I was laughing. That it was so funny. I was actually laughing at how bad it was. And this movie is funny at times. Like I don't know if it's meant to be a comedy, but there are definitely parts in this movie that are really funny. But it just seems like they're not meant to be. They're so bad they're funny. This is supposed to be this Suzuki. It's supposed to be his masterpiece, like the best movie he's ever made. And I mean, if that's true, I don't want to see any of his movies. If there's any more that are ranked 100%, I'll watch them. but probably not going to like actively look for movies by him. Just because I was so off put by this. It's an hour and a half, but and it doesn't drag. It's not boring. It's confusing through part of it. And you're just wondering like what the point of this is, like why are they telling this story, why is this story important? It's just absurd, it's just weird, and it's as far as like I think it's supposed to be film noir, but there's no real femme fatale in it. The woman who plays the opposite is definitely not a femme fatale in this movie because she's not strong. The femme fatale has to be someone who's a strong character who can play opposite the lead, you know, who can be that person who gets in his way and kind of thwarts him from doing things. And this is definitely not her. So I'm really not sure what they were trying to do with this movie, what they were going for. As far as like an action movie, it's fine. There's a lot of good action scenes in it. But the script is just bad. The dialogue is bad. The Bryce thing is confusing. There's no reason for it. It's just weird. And the whole wife gratuitous nudity thing is just off-putting, and it just seems like it's there just because it's like just to be there. Like there's no reason for it. I mean, sure they say that she's like wild and crazy in this movie. Like she even describes herself as kind of wild and crazy. But the only proof you have of this is the fact that she runs around naked all the time, and the fact that she's in love with someone who clearly doesn't love her and is only like there for whatever reason. You don't even know why he's in this relationship. He doesn't seem like he wants this relationship. It doesn't seem like he is committed to this relationship. But they're married, so it's like there's no chemistry between them. They don't hate each other. They clearly still lust for each other, at least, but it's just really, it's a bizarre situation. It's a bizarre movie. It's a really weird movie. Still not as bad as some of the movies that I've seen on this list, but it's still not good. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10, and I hope you join me next time when I review Le Samurai. I think it's called Le Samaria. Thank you. I hope you have a great day.